Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. This is episode 139, brought to you by the kindest and most gentle horror podcast in America. We are going to be talking about the worst films. We're going to be absolutely
bringing the wood.
We're going to bring the wood. Exactly. We're going to bring the wood to the worst films of the year. This is Mike Campbell, and of course, I'm always joined by
Eric Lee
and
Liz Williams.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
We're either bringing the wood or taking him to the woodshed or some kind of wood analogy.
There's going to be wood.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of wood. There's going to be wood. There's going to be wood.
Cabin in the woods.
It's everywhere.
Wood chips everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Put them in the chipper.
It's going to be nothing but shame and humiliation and just you name it.
But in the nicest way possible.
But in the nicest way possible, yes. Because generally speaking, we don't like to bag too much on directors, actors.
We get accused of being a little bit of Pollyanna-ish.
Yes, we can be a little bit Pollyanna-ish, but at the end of the day, there are some stinkers out there, and there were some really crappy films in 2022. Not only remakes, but new films, reimagined films, and everything else in between. And it was incredible. There were some films that should have been absolutely great, but were absolutely terrible. Yeah. And I was shocked. I was actually shocked by them.
Well, and here's the thing. You know, we talked about this before we got on the podcast.
Right.
We're not paid to do this. So we tend not to go out and look for we don't review all movies because we're obligated to.
What's Liz's golden rule?
Turn it off.
If it sucks, stop it. And in a pandemic age, when you haven't spent $14 to sit in an IMAX theater, you kind of it's forget this. We'll go to something different.
Right. But if I'm paying $14, I'm sticking it out.
Yeah, I at least I mean it's a good thing we stuck with *Malignant* because. You know, the first half of *Malignant* was a hot mess, and until we got the key turning point where it made it worth the money.
Right.
I mean, I'm suspecting something might be on Liz's list.
We'll see.
$3.99 is my threshold. If it's
that's about it. I've done like $5.99 for something new.
$3.99 I'll turn off. $5.99 I might not turn off.
Yeah,
I do have a financial threshold.
Yeah, once I pay, it's harder to turn off.
Well, and here's another thing. I think, in some ways, and I've heard this from a number of other podcasters and bloggers, is in that when we're doing our worst of the year in review, in many cases, it's most disappointing film.
Yeah. We don't hate you. We're just very disappointed
because
in
there are some things where you can't fault either the acting or the technical aspects of it, or for sometimes even the plot's pretty decent, but there's something else that's just, boy, what this could have and should have been really fell short of what my expectation levels were, and so and
these all these films, all these actors, all these directors, all these sound people, cinematographers, etc. I mean. No knock on them. I mean, they're putting in the work. They're doing the work. They're doing something that I have no idea how to do. Right. It's just to your point, it's just fallen short.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to bring up some of our favorite people who we work with, namely some of our festival friends. It's like sometimes you get the temptation. It's like you get these screeners or you get the festival passes and you get to know and appreciate the people who share this stuff with you.
Right.
And then you go and it's like, that movie sucked.
Right.
And then and then, because sometimes, I think, we had this year, I think with Popcorn Frights, we had so many films. Fortunately, there were a lot of films that we could pick through, but there were a bunch of them that just kind of fell on their faces. But you don't want to start after you've been given like a free pass to the secret codes in the locker, right? Then all of a sudden, then you come back and you go, your whole festival shit, right? And it's like, no, it's not the case. You don't want to lead off
all over your locker.
Yeah, and you don't want to end up having like a whole bunch of 1-star and 2-star reviews coming out of the gate,
right?
And oftentimes sometimes it's like we're just not going to put that movie up.
Right.
It's like that's.
I did.
Yes, you did. A couple of them.
None
and
of mine
some
are
of them were
independent
deserving.
films, so
and
I don't feel bad. Mine are all big budgets.
Yeah,
or
and the
have
big
budgets, not small.
Right. No, and you feel a whole lot easier about picking on a studio film than you do about this is my first film. I have to pick on a couple of indies this year, but I've got some big boys who are going to have to get some shaming. So, anyways, So we're going to do our top fives. We're going to move through
top fives, yes,
or bottom fives.
The 15 worst films of 2022.
So
maybe we'll see,
and try and move through this relatively quickly here for you, so then we don't belate. We'll get the name out there. We'll give you a little bit of a why, but we're not going to have to do the full on recap for you. If you're really interested in watching a bad movie, you can go ahead and watch it for yourself.
Are we going to go from the least worst to worst, or just the worst?
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, you're going from least worst to worst.
Least worst to worst.
Okay. All right, Eric, get to organizing. Liz is going to go first. I can see.
Okay.
It. Eric has a look in his eye like, wait a second, I'm not prepared for that.
No, I
have
mine
typed up notes.
Oh my God! Okay.
I always have typed up notes, but I don't have them in order.
All right.
I have mine in order.
All right.
All right, then I'll kick it off.
Yes, least worst to worst.
With
number
the one
5.
that I'm in, so mine's Malignant, number 5. From James Wan. And I was excited because I like to always have like a birthday movie, like what's coming out on the weekend of my birthday. It was Malignant. It was on HBO Max. It was like, James Wan, yes, this is going to be great. Whew. I don't know. I don't know if the ending or like the twist made up for how. When I turned it on, I was like, is this for real? Like, it looked like a soap opera. I mean, it looked so bad.
That's exactly what I said to Eric when we were in the theaters. I was like, I don't think, like, it did not feel real.
No, this is a movie. It was so weird.
Yeah.
No, it didn't feel real at all. And then once it came with the twist, which I won't spoil, but because I think it's a fun movie that I think people should watch, even though I didn't love it, because it's worth seeing just to be in on the conversation. But then I couldn't even suspend my disbelief. I was like, well, how does he have all these coats? When did he learn karate? Like all this stuff.
It really was bizarro.
Yeah.
Although
it was so bizarre.
I think, but the twist, it is one of the great,
it's a great twist.
And to the point where Mike and I looked at each other and went, wow, what just happened? And then the movie changed, and then we were kind of excited for about 15 minutes, and then it kind of reverted back to now it's like, well, you didn't really think this through, did you?
Yeah, it was just like the last 15 minutes were like a Marvel action superhero movie.
It's like, how the hell is something like that moving that quickly? I don't get it. I mean, it was like it was disturbing and very, very clever.
Oh yeah. And great body horror.
It just wasn't executed right, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
It would turn from like a bad movie, a good horror twist into an action film. Yeah. And like a superhero action film, and not one that I wanted to see, like the fourth Blade or something. Not even like a good one.
and it's kind of tough because you want to see someone like James Wan coming out with new original material.
Always, and I want to like it because I like most of his stuff.
Yeah,
but this one, I didn't hate it. I'm just very disappointed.
I think I on my posted review, I think I gave it 2.5.
I give it.
And I
2.
I think Mike had said that it was like for 2/3 of the movie it was an F, and then for one brief shining moment it was an A.
Yeah.
And then it came crashing back down again, and so it's like it's got a strange bell curve kind of feel to it.
C- or a D.
I was gonna go D-. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
one
for
and a half, 2 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it a little bit higher, but because I love the twist.
Yeah. Twist is good.
Yeah.
So, but the rest of it was like, just weird movie. Yeah. All right.
That was my number 5.
Eric, what's the least worst film of 2022?
Well, I'm gonna have to pick on someone who probably doesn't deserve to pick on. This is a director named Ray Lee von Leong, who did something called Zombie Infection Bellabon Hit Up. It's a Malaysian movie.
Oh,
you people will probably never have to see this movie because I don't know if it's good enough to get out into main circulation. And to be fair, it's remarkable that this Malaysian movie was ever made. It was filmed in Borneo with the help of the indigenous Iban people of Borneo,
right?
In the rainforest, which was cool. right? And actually, when the segments were focusing on those folks, it was interesting.
Yeah, and so it was like not a single actor in the film was actually an actor.
No, and and you can tell
even the actors weren't actors.
Yeah, I mean, this was like community theater at best, right? So, and the other thing is that the government of Malaysia is much stricter on the amount of gore and violence than its neighboring country, Indonesia or Thailand, right? And those countries, they know with their martial arts and horror backgrounds, they can do some pretty gruesome stuff. Malaysia, not so much more conservative. But the filmmakers were also obligated by their financing backers to have a more conventional zombie story. And by conventional, I mean generic. It was. It looked like people going around like if you were doing the Pittsburgh zombie crawl.
Right.
Everybody go stick your arms out and moan.
Right.
That was pretty much it. It was pretty stupid. In
fairness, though, it was probably a bunch of people that have never seen a zombie film.
No, they were learning about zombie. This was really as if in a world where, if you didn't know about Night of the Living Dead or anything that followed after it, sure, it might be interesting.
Yeah.
But it was, there was like a cackling Bond villain, and there's a lot of this stuff just didn't make any sense. There was like the entire cast pretty much got wiped out, but it wasn't fun, and it wasn't like there was no gore. They just kind of get grabbed, and then it's like, oh no, they're gone. And it's like, kind of boring. So, anyways, I gave it 2.5 stars, and mostly because
very kind of you.
I was kind.
That's nice, yeah.
Because I think that the segments that involved the tribes people were kind of fun.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. And when they were actually filming in the jungle, it showed off the jungle really well.
And when's the next time you're going to see a Malaysian horror film?
I don't know. There was another one that I reviewed. It was a double feature Malaysian horror. The other one was better. It was a more conventional one. It was about an amusement park that got shut down. But anyways, yeah, this was this is my least worst film. I think it was. I feel bad because it's like I wanted it to be good, but honestly, if I was watching this, if I wasn't sitting in a film festival watching it, I probably would have bailed out on it after about half an hour because it was just like, this is shoddy.
Right.
So, yeah. That's my number 5.
My worst best movie of the year is Army of the Dead, directed by Zack Snyder. I was disappointed in this because, as Eric already pointed out to me, because Zack Snyder did Dawn of the Dead, which I think is really one of the great... Well, we've already talked about this in the context of horror remakes. This is one of the best horror remakes of all time, and for him to come in and roll out this video game CGI garbage was, truly, it was really uninspired.
And he's a zombie guy.
He's a zombie guy, yeah. It's like,
or he should be.
There was no fun with the zombies. It was like the zombie nurse is gone, the fat guy zombie is gone, the Hare Krishna zombie is gone, the half dog zombies are gone, Bub is gone. It's just there was no fun. It was just this hyper machismo American exceptionalism set to CGI and video games with these ghastly superhero zombies that didn't make any sense.
And they were smart zombies, weren't they?
They were smart. They all shriek like space aliens. I said one might even say that the zombie genre has jumped the shark, or in this case, the albino zombie tiger. And yes, there was an albino zombie tiger because, of course, it was all set in Las Vegas. The whole thing was ridiculous. I did watch, believe it or not, even after having watched the film, I watched a short documentary about the making of the film. And it was really interesting because they did use some new and very, very innovative techniques, and it looked great. It's streaming on Netflix, so it's in 4K, and so the colors are brilliant. A lot of the set design is really interesting, but it is an incredibly uninspired film. The sad thing is, even though there's very little subtlety to the film, and you're beat over the head time and time again with clip after clip after clip of automatic weapons being spilled out onto the strip. The really, really sad thing is that they left it open with the possibility for a Army of the Dead 2 and an Army of the Dead 3. So I have a
didn't
feeling
they make something else though?
Not yet. No, I have.
Oh, I thought they.
Okay. Well, one of the questions that I have for you,
Yes.
I mean, what it seemed to me like this was going to be like a Resident Evil kind of a movie.
Yeah.
It is,
and I was like, this doesn't interest me that much. Initially I thought, well, it could be pretty good. And then I saw the trailers and I was like, nah, this looks like Resident Evil.
Yeah. I said, in my review, I said, from an experiential standpoint, this is the rough equivalent to parking yourself on the couch and watching your nephew play Dead Rising and Resident Evil 3 for 2 hours and 28 minutes. I said, if that's your thing, by all means, get after it.
And there are people out there who like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's like,
but otherwise, no
not
good.
not for these reviewers.
No. All right, Liz, what is next on your list?
Okay, next on my list is Julia Ducournau's Titan.
Yeah.
The Cannes Palme d'Or winner. I just didn't like this film. I was disappointed. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, they were talking about like, she's having sex with cars, she's doing all this. It turns into, she does, and then like she's a serial killer also. And then she's trying to hide by being a boy who, lives with this French fireman who looks
nothing like
Stabler.
It's like how he could mistake her
not
for
at
his
all.
boy. It's like I don't.
I mean, I guess 7 years had gone by, but I don't think your kid would look that different. And he was like a legit steroid raging weird guy, and then it just made literally no sense to me. I thought it was so. I don't know. I didn't get it. This was not for me. Raw was so much better, and I feel like it was almost like a joke by Spike Lee to be like, this is the winner. I couldn't understand how this won. But
to me,
a lot of people really like this. I was just like, this is not good. Not for me.
I watched this in preparation knowing that you were going to have this on your worst list. And it's like, oh shit, I gotta watch Titan. And it's weird. It's really weird.
It's too weird. It's weird for the sake of being weird. I feel
that's
like.
exactly what I was thinking. I felt like it was like weird for the sake of being weird. Whereas a film like like Rubber, which is weird, but it's not
surreal.
weird for the sake of being weird. It's weird with a point, and it's weird with an actual sort of interesting angle. Yeah, this didn't have any of that.
Well, I think I mentioned this to Liz earlier. I've never liked Clockwork Orange.
I can see that,
and it's like, and I look at this, it's like, this is like Clockwork Orange,
right?
It's absurdist, extreme, pushing some boundaries on weird stuff, and and there are a lot of cringy moments, where her behavior is just so odd, just and it's like, okay, she's had like from the get-go massive head trauma. Right. And it's like, okay, so it's kind of justified, and it's like she's kind of messed up. But I love Raw.
Yeah.
I did not love this movie.
I mean, I thought Raw was really good. This just wasn't for me. Also, like when people were talking about it, this was another one of like, people left the theater. Why? It wasn't that extreme. I mean, we've seen way more extreme stuff.
Well,
so, not for the Cannes audience.
The
I
Cannes
guess they
audience,
haven't.
They're
if
not.
Lars von Trier hasn't done anything in a couple, haven't seen anything.
Right. Alex Aja or someone like that. Who will button push. I mean, there is weird. I mean, it is.
I don't know.
It
Not
is
for me.
a lot of strain, like the sex stuff, which is. I mean, it's like compared to like porn, it's like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't even that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the shocking thing is how many best of lists it's on.
My God, it's on so many. But I think it's almost like Emperor's New Clothes for me sometimes. Of like, I'm going to say I don't get this, but like maybe people are afraid to say they don't get it. I don't know. That's always that kind of thing.
I think you're absolutely onto something, Liz.
Well, if you listen,
some people like. Say it's great. I guess people could like it if you're really into like surrealism and Cronenberg, and it's getting compared. Like one critic compared it to like some of Takashi Miike's stuff, which I think that's way more extreme and crazy. Some of it makes no sense. This one just didn't do it for me. With all the hype it got and this award, I was just like.
Truthfully, it's not half as weird as Happiness of the Katakuris.
which
is Takashi Miike's
right.
The musical.
Right.
Like, I think where I would give credit to, I mean, it's a visually stunning looking movie.
Yeah, it looks good.
And and the actors are committed, but it is you're right, it makes little to no sense. I mean,
I don't want to take away that she's the second woman to win this prize after Jane Campion for the piano, but so it's not that, it's just I couldn't believe this was the the film.
Also may have been the competition, who knows,
right?
Maybe.
The other, it is
Raw was much better.
Fundamentally a much more sound, cohesive movie.
Yep.
But if you listen to Ducournau talk, you realize she's in her own head. She is an